today in English is dedicated. We shall have the three of them, and Mr. Angelo is taking you through these topics today. The first one is past perfect continuous tense. Past perfect continuous tense. We are going to see a number of things there so that we shall know how to write sentences using the past perfect continuous tense. We also have use of who in joining sentences. We shall see that one. And lastly, we shall look at adverbs of degree. Welcome to today's lesson. And then as we proceed, we learn together. Past perfect continuous tense. I want to say that sentences in the past perfect continuous tense, they tell us about actions which happened over a period of time in the past before something else happened. These sentences tell us about actions which happened over a period of time in the past before something else happened. And I'm going to give an example. I've said that it talks about action which happens over a period of time. It's action which happened over a period of time. Period of time in the past, before something else happened. Before something else happened. Example, of these sentences. One of them says, I had been sitting. I had been sitting alone. Sitting alone in the room for 2 hours. When the door fully opened. So, in this sentence, what I can say is that there is something that was happening or that had happened before something else also happened. So we say had been sitting. I had been sitting alone in the room for 2 hours when the door flew open. Meaning, after taking 2 hours, that is when now the door opened. I also have another one. We had been watching the news for 10 minutes. We had been watching. We had been watching the news for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes. 10 minutes before the lights went off. Lights went off. So had been watching. This is what was happening or was done before the lights went off. Otherwise, we have seen that we use had been, and then the verb going on. The verb tells us that the action was going on that time before what took off at the end. So, I have some sentences which we can try to change. Rewrite the sentences below using the correct form of the verbs in the brackets or in brackets. So there are some verbs which are there, and the verbs needs us to use this method of had been. Then the verb is in a continuous. Had been sitting, had been watching. Then these verbs, we are going to use them to construct these sentences. Sentence number 1 says, the baby dash sleep for an hour when her mother came back. So, the baby dash sleep. That's what it is saying. The baby dash sleep. That one, sleep. For half an hour or for an hour when the mother came back. So what can we say? The baby had been sleeping. So this one will say, will change to the baby had been sleeping. That's how it should now be. Had been sleeping. The baby had been sleeping. Okay. The hawkers dash sell goods for 2 years before they stopped. Hawkers dash sell. The hawkers dash sell. So, this one will read as the hawkers had been selling. The hawkers had been selling. Had been selling. That way. Had been selling. So, we also have another one which we are going to do orally. I won't write it there, we are going to do it orally. Coffee dash shout for 10 minutes when the neighbors came out. Coffee dash shout for 10 minutes when the neighbors came out. So this one is going to be a coffee had been shouting for 10 minutes when the neighbors came out. Another sentence. The house dash burned for long before the fire brigade arrived. The house dash burned for long before the fire brigade arrived. So in this case, burn is going to be used the same way we have done those other ones, like the house had been burning for long before the fire brigade arrived. Another sentence. The bell dash ring for some time when she came out. The bell dash ring for some time when she came out. This one is going to be the bell had been ringing for some time when she came out. Good. Another sentence. They dash play for 30 minutes before the teacher came in. They dash pray for 30 minutes before the teacher came in. This sentence reads as they had been playing for 30 minutes before the teacher came in. Fine. Somebody can try this one. The children that watch football for 40 minutes before the lights went off. The children dash watch football for 40 minutes before the lights went off. Yes, that is very good. The children had been watching football for 40 minutes before the lights went off. Another one, the customers dash wait for an hour when the shopkeeper came. The customers dash wait for an hour when the shopkeeper came out. Yes, good. This one is the customers had been waiting for an hour when the shopkeeper came out. Fine. Now, having said that, you have seen that when you want to talk about that action which happened in the past, it happens sometimes in the past before something else happened, you find that we use had been happening, had been sitting, had been selling, had been sleeping, had been walking. All those are the ones which are used whenever we are considering past perfect continuous tense. Now, I have seen that you are now comfortable in writing or changing those the sentences into the past perfect continuous tense. Now, I want to move to another area where now we are going to use the verb, the joining verb or helping verb here. We call it helping verb. Use of who. the first place, I want to say that who is a helping verb. One, it is a helping verb. Whenever it is used in sentences, it is taken as a helping verb. It is an auxiliary verb. It is an auxiliary verb. We can also say it is used in direct and indirect questions. Can use it there. It can also be used in direct and indirect questions. For example, somebody can ask, who is your class teacher? Who is your class teacher? Asked the visitor. That one is direct. Who is your class teacher? Who is your class teacher? Using who. You can use who is your class teacher. Ask the visitor. Just an example. Who is your class teacher? Ask the visitor. So we have who here. Yeah? Then, this one is direct. This is direct. Then, we can also say the visitor asked. The visitor asked who the class teacher was. Who the class teacher was. This one now is indirect. Indirect. So we have seen who is used there. As I have said, it is used in direct and indirect questions. This is an example of how those sentences appear. Now, I also want to give a sentence here, two sentences, so that we can join them. I met the lady. Full stop. She trades in electronic goods. Those are two sentences. I met the lady. She trades in electronic goods. When we use who, then the sentence reads as I met the lady who trades in electronic goods. So we find that who has joined the two sentences. and who has replaced a person. So instead of repeating lady she, we just say lady who. And then the two sentences become one, having the same message. It does not change the meaning. It does not change the meaning. So we use who to join two sentences, but it does not change the meaning. It is a helping verb. We use it to join sentences. Now, let us see some sentences where we can use who. The first sentence, they met a trader. The trader buys cars from Japan. They met a trader. The trader buys cars from Japan. So, this sentence, these are two sentences, but we can join it using who, and the meaning remains the same. This one will read as, they met a trader who trades. Who buys? Who buys? They met a trader who buys cars from Japan. From Japan. Now, those two sentences have become one because of using who. Then, something else that we have realized is that when we write the first sentence, we usually begin with capital letters, and when we are also starting the second sentence, we start with capital letters. Don't forget this. It is important because each sentence has its own information. It has got its own message. They met a trainer. Yeah? Those are people who went and met a trainer. The trader buys cars from Japan. That's another one. What does this trader who was met, what does he do? He buys or she buys cars from Japan. So when we join the two sentences, the information remains. They met a trader who buys cars from Japan. So it does not change the meaning of the sentence. Now, let's have some examples. We met 3 ladies, full stop. They were going to the airport. So this sentence, when we insert who, or we use who, will read as, we met 3 ladies who were going to the airport. Another one, Tom was talking to a customs officer. Tom was talking to a customs officer. Then she was very friendly. The two sentences now will read as, Tom was talking to a customs officer who was very friendly. Another one, we talked to business person. We talked to a business person, and he sells goods on credit. Now, when we join these two sentences, they read as, we talked to a business person who sells goods on credit. Fine. We still have another one before I give you some work. The police officer arrested the man. police officer arrested the man. The man had robbed a bank. So, the sentence would read as, the police officer arrested the man who robbed the bank. Fine. Now, I want to give some work which you can send us so that we see it next lesson. I have to give you some work there to see whether you have been able to get this sentences correctly, where we are using who. They are a bit easier. So I give some retro work very fast here, so that next lesson we shall look at the way you have answered them. So the first one reads, Kimemia saw the store owner. Store owner, and then she lives near our house. That is one. Another one. We saw the girl. Stop. So the girl, she works at the supermarket. Another one. The cashier served the woman. The cashier served the woman. And then the woman was in a hurry. In a hurry. Then the trader thanked the man. And then the man was honest. Those are 4 questions which we shall see next lesson how they were tackled, and you can send your answers to a number given below. Now we go to our last part. Our last part here, adverbs of degree. Adverbs of degree. Now, what do I mean here? Adverbs, listen. Adverbs of degree tell how strong or weak an action is. For example, he ran very fast to the classroom and the nearest step on the cut. So we have other adverbs of degree such as almost, fairly, barely, quite, rather, only, so, scarcely, true, really, just. Those are some of the adverbs of degree. Now, let me give a sentence and see how we are supposed to use the adverbs of degree. This sentence reads, this is a rotten, this fruit is rotten. This fruit is rotten. And then we have really, really. So when we use really in this sentence, it will say, or it will read as, this fruit is really rotten. That's an example of a sentence which is talking about adverb of degree, really, really. Then one more sentence, then I give you some work. It's not very hard, just put the word really here to show the degree of the fruit. It was really rotten, so it was not only rotten, but it was really rotten. Now, this is a tall building. Okay. It's a tall building. Then we are given that adverb, very. So this reads as, this is a very tall building. Building. Yes, a very tall building. So let me give you some 3 sentences or 2 sentences so that you have 6 of them where you now show how to use adverbs of degree. Just 2 of them. One of them is saying, one of them says, she was stronger than we thought. She was stronger than we thought. And then we are told much. Use the word much. Another one, Shena bought the sweater at a cheap price. Shena bought the sweater at a cheap price. A cheap price, and then we are told fairly. Those ones are our assignment, which we are supposed to do. Then next lesson we shall see more about it. Otherwise, that's all we have today. Until next lesson, I am Mr. J.